Could a Destiny mobile game work? Can the bombast of Destiny's combat, the tightness of the gunplay, and that tantalizing loot pool successfully translate onto the mobile platform? Destiny Rising was officially announced after there were leaks and rumors about its existence, and the announcement was also coupled with the sign-up for a closed alpha that will take place in November. So in a very short amount of time, both long-time Destiny fans and any would-be fans will be able to jump into a brand new experience on mobile. It's described as taking place in a different timeline, an era before the Guardians were fully defined and the various classes of Hunters, Titans, and Warlocks were not yet solidified. They also indicated that familiar faces will be present along with the new cast of characters and heroes, and that's when the details about the game start to look a little different, because a mobile Destiny game isn't the most surprising part about this announcement. It's the details about it that really drive home a shocking truth. This will be the most non-Destiny game that Destiny has ever been, which will obviously be a huge turnoff for the most veteran fans and players, but it is also why I think this Destiny mobile game could be huge. Because it's clearly not just Destiny ported over to mobile, it's a significant departure from what everybody knows and thinks about when it comes to this franchise. And obviously, since we're talking about a mobile game, some of the details point to the potential of problematic microtransactions. More than that, this project was originally looking to be another incubated project at Bungie from the $100 million investment from NetEase, but it seems that something very different took place, which is another aspect of why this could be huge for Destiny and Bungie in the future. Now, every weekday here on Reforge Gaming, I tell you what I think about a gaming topic, and then we go to a live stream where I want to hear what you think. So if you like this content, hit like and subscribe. This might amaze you, but based on all the available information, Destiny Rising will not be a looter shooter. And believe me, I looked for any evidence that this game will be a loot-based video game. So let's look at what type of game they claim that it is, and then look at how the game will work with respect to the characters, the abilities, and most importantly, the guns. Because none of this really lines up with how Destiny 1 or Destiny 2 functions. So to start things, what do they call this game? Well, their official website in multiple locations refers to this game as a, quote, mobile epic sci-fi RPG shooter. Even their thumbnail for the details page says in big gold letters, epic sci-fi RPG shooter. Now, this would be the perfect place, or the perfect places, to say that this is an epic sci-fi looter shooter. But the reason they're calling it an RPG shooter becomes more clear when you look at how things will work with the characters, the abilities, and the guns. So first, the characters. Before they get into the details, they make it clear that you will not be just playing as your own character. They state that, quote, not only will you see iconic figures like Ikora Rey, the Iron Lord Yolder, and a youthful Kabar, you will also have the chance to play as them and other renowned heroes of yore. So first and foremost, it's clear they're going to let you play as named and as recognizable characters from Destiny's lore. But more than that, it seems to be a character-based game. Look at what they say next, and you'll be able to play this during the alpha. They say, in addition to familiar names and faces from Destiny 2, we have an expansive roster of new characters for you to master, including many new light bearers whose legendary stories you can experience firsthand. At the heart of it all is you, the protagonist known as Wolf, whose gender and appearance you can customize as you embark on your journey. For the upcoming closed alpha test, which we'll discuss in more detail later, you'll have the opportunity to experience gameplay with 11 unique characters. So, from where I sit, this is setting a very different tone from classic Destiny, especially when you see how the characters will work, because they directly affect and restrict what you might expect to see with guns, subclasses, and abilities. So first, how does this affect weapons? It's likely a burning question, especially when they say that each character will, quote, have a unique set of abilities and set of weapon types that they can use. You might hear that and think, well, that sounds like they're going to limit what I can do, and you're not wrong. For weapons, it means any given character will be limited to specific weapon types. Here's what they say. Each light bearer has 2 weapon slots, one for primary weapons and one for power weapons. Each slot has an available weapon type, which differs by playable character. For example, Wolf can equip auto rifles as their primary weapon and grenade launchers as their power weapons. You have a shared inventory between all characters, so you can share weapons you unlock between those capable of wielding the same weapon types. So you can see this is a major change in multiple ways. First, you just carry a primary and a heavy, no more secondary weapons. Secondly, each character can only use certain types of weapons. And third, weapons do not appear to be found or looted, they are, quote, unlocked. Now you might wonder, what do I do with the weapons once I unlock them? Do I get to do anything? Is there any infusion? Anything like that? Well, according to earlier in the post, you can level those weapons up. They say this. This means that you'll get to play as a growing roster of characters, each with their own unique playstyles, abilities, and gear that you'll work toward leveling up and empowering by progressing through the main campaign storyline and a variety of activities. Now, I would pay close attention to that word growing. It's a growing roster of characters. They're going to be continuing to add characters. More on that in a moment. And the gear and the abilities that you have are leveled up by playing the game. Now you can begin to see why they're classifying this as an RPG shooter and not a looter shooter. Lastly, how does the game handle your subclasses and your abilities? Well, there's a new method using what's called relics, and it's almost sort of a limiting way that you might expect. They say this. Each light bearer wields a unique relic that plays a great part in defining their gameplay, capable of unleashing powerful super abilities as well as their 2 signature abilities in addition to a set of perks. So, as far as this reads, one character will have a set of abilities and a super, and that's it. If you want to change to a different subclass, you will change to a different character who has a different relic. Now, I don't know if they're going to give you different relics in the future to move around, but they continue to describe characters as ones who have a set of abilities and a set of weapons. It's never been more true to say that this is the same but different. It's not really Destiny, but it is. And more importantly, why is this a cause for concern with the microtransactions? Anytime an ongoing mobile game says that it will be adding to the roster of characters and that those characters are the main means of interest with respect to unlocks, power, and even gear, everyone should start to sense the same potential problem. We might be looking at a gacha game. In other words, when an ongoing game like this shows itself to be character-centric instead of loot-centric, you have to wonder how it's going to be monetized. Gacha games are notorious for making new characters highly coveted, but also highly rare, leading to the addicting pulling when you try to get the new character. You're pulling the lever, you're trying to get one to drop. It's basically a loot box for characters, and some games implement low drop rates combined with a pity mechanic, so the more you spend, slowly but surely your chances increase and the game has pity on you. This creates not just an addicting aspect of, hey, I want to keep opening these boxes or whatever they're called, but it also creates a sunk cost with every pull of the lever. But there's another possibility. Maybe it's not a gacha game, okay? It doesn't have to be that just because it's character-centric. It could also be a very grindy game to unlock or earn these new characters or some type of an in-game currency to buy those characters. This was a huge concern about the first Descendant before it came out. The best and most coveted version of the characters require grinding for very rare materials that have very low drop rates, and you can bypass all of that if it just gets too frustrating, and you can just buy the really awesome character outright for a very high premium price. Mobile games, especially in other markets, are known for far more heavy-handed monetization practices and even blatant systems of pay-to-win. Different markets are far more receptive to this. Even Destiny 2 has a unique NPC to the Korean version of the game where players can buy exotics with real money. NetEase could have plans for this game to take it in a direction that could be incredibly lucrative, specifically in the Chinese market if this game actually lands there. That was never more clear than with Diablo Immortal. According to reports, just 5 months after release, Diablo Immortal earned $155 million in 60 countries and then an additional $144 million just from their launch in China alone. So the spending in China almost matched 60 countries by itself. It gets even more interesting when you consider the number of downloads in China was almost identical to the number in the US. It was a little over 4 million in each country. So the same number of downloads and yet a significant higher amount of spending. This means Destiny Rising could become an outright cash cow for Bungie, and it could happen overnight, which is why I said this could be huge. I have to be honest, when I first saw the footage, it actually looks like a very solid mobile experience. The gameplay of Destiny is fun, it's satisfying, and very repeatable. More than that, as the game evolved over the years, everything continued to look a little bit more and more mobile-esque. The way they use colors, cosmetics, and the season passes in their marketing, and they always did this with a loopable, sliced-off, sequestered section of content, and everything was very contained. Nothing was ever really truly open world or very large and vast. They create these sort of contained, bombastic, and satisfying loops. And this could honestly help fund the future of Destiny or even a Destiny 3, which is where things get really interesting when you think about the money. In January of 2019, NetEase invested $100 million in Bungie for a stake in the company and a seat at the board of directors. And when you read the official announcement from NetEase, Pete Parsons made it sound like Bungie would be building these new Destiny experiences through their incubation projects. Well, we know what happened with those. In his blog post about the layoffs, Pete Parsons made it clear those projects spread the company too thin, it hurt their main cash flow product, which was Destiny, and it took the company into the red. Numerous reports have come out making it very clear that PlayStation acquiring Bungie basically saved them from more severe financial trouble, which brings us to the opening frame of the announcement trailer for Destiny Rising. It leaves little doubt of who made this game. Quote, Destiny Rising is developed and published by NetEase Game. This game and its characters, items, and events are under license of Bungie Incorporated. So, not only did Bungie not develop this, they are also not footing the publishing bill either. They have merely licensed Destiny to NetEase, which could be exactly what Bungie needs going forward. Another steady cash flow attached to their very, very lucrative property, arguably their most lucrative property, and they spend literally no time developing it. They don't have to support it. They don't have to add any content to it. And I can't help but think this is related to PlayStation stepping in, restructuring, and refocusing Bungie's efforts on Destiny. If one thing was clear in the wake of the Bungie layoffs and PlayStation pushing for restructuring, it was that PlayStation leadership wanted more Destiny. And I can't help but think it was at least in some part related to this mobile game effort with NetEase. To have a recognizable IP slowly shifting down and getting less and less content while the mobile version launches and potentially soars, well, that would be very lopsided. In other words, it would be odd to see one of your biggest developers that you own doing less and less with a piece of property that's earning a ton of money in a completely different market with a completely different version of the game. And while it's obvious that Marathon's still going forward in light of recent things that we've heard, content creators are continuing to go out and test it, and pre-orders were hinted inside of some recent Destiny 2 data mine code, I still think that the game of Marathon has a very low chance of making enough money and being successful enough to justify Bungie's existence as an 800 to 900 employee studio. So, if the Destiny Rising game is successful and it creates steady cash flow for Bungie, I could see it increasing the likelihood of a Destiny 3 actually happening one day. So like I said, a Destiny mobile game could be huge, just not in the way that anybody thinks. But those are just my thoughts, and now it's time to hear your thoughts. And you can do that in a comment below, or come to the live stream that follows this. It'll hit a card here, and it'll be pinned as well in a comment below. And if you like this content and you want more like it, please remember to like, share, and subscribe.